What does that mean? By touches, I'm talking about the upper and lower wicks that touch off of the level, whether it's a horizontal support or resistance or a trend line. You want to try to get as many touches on those levels, but you also don't want to cut off too many wicks. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, and it's also something that just comes with practice. And speaking of trend lines, don't forget about them. I know a lot of traders don't favor trend lines. They try to stick to horizontal levels, and that's okay. You can do that. But I will say that if you're not using trend lines, you're really missing out. And in another lesson, we're going to get into trend strength, right? We're going to get into how to spot reversals. And if you're not using trend lines, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. So just be sure that when you're drawing these levels, that you don't forget about the trend lines. So how do you know that you've drawn a level correctly? Well, this is where price action comes in, because what I normally do is I'll allow the market to show me whether or not my level is accurate, right? So it kind of helps me to justify whether I should keep that level on my chart or just get rid of it. All right, so you always want to make sure that you're letting the market do the work for you. So if a market comes around and doesn't respect a key level you have drawn several times, you probably want to think about getting rid of that level, because it's probably not something you want to pay attention to. All right, and this one is a little known secret that I'm going to show you. There's kind of a certain science to drawing these levels on your charts, and you'll notice that once you get good at this and you start drawing the levels, a lot of times there's a certain distance between each level. It could be 100 pips, it could be 200. Typically, it's some kind of range that could be something like, between 250 to 350 pips. And once you start to see that type of pattern, right, between these horizontal levels, what you can do is actually use that same range to find the next level in the sequence. All right, so we'll take a look at that on the Euro USD chart in just one moment. And last but not least is don't go overboard. All right, keep the levels to a minimum. Don't try to have 20 or 30 levels on a chart, because what's going to happen is you'll have so many levels on your chart that you won't be able to trade. You won't have enough space between them to be able to put on a trade. So you want to focus on the really key levels in the market, which are usually those swing highs and lows. All right, so let's pull up the charts again and run through an example here on the Euro USD. All right, so the first thing I want to point out is, if you'll remember, I mentioned that we want to focus on the swing highs and lows. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw out some of these swings on here, and we'll take a look at whether or not we can use these to draw key levels. All right, so what I want to do is just take my horizontal level here, and anytime I'm presented with a blank chart, I want to start with my horizontal levels, and once I do that, then I can start looking for trend lines or channels or wedges or things like that. All right, so the horizontal levels are sort of my foundation when I'm presented with a blank chart. All right, so the first area I want to look at, because I can tell right off the bat that this might be something worthwhile, is this level right here. We can see we've got this swing high and this swing low back here. The next area that I pointed out was this here. Okay, now it does get a little bit choppy through here, but that looks pretty good at the moment. And the next high is this one here. However, look at how close these are together. So what I want to do now is just look back on my chart, and we can see this one up here that I just drew a moment ago actually looks pretty good, because we've got this swing low back here as well as some lows through here. However, this one gets pretty choppy. If you'll notice, there's really not much happening here. All right, so I don't think I want to keep this one on, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that for now. All right, so if I move down, I've got, excuse me, this area right here. So we've got a swing high and we've got a bunch of lows back here. And then I've got a level right here where we've got this swing low back here and some lows here. And then I've got this major swing low down here. Now you'll notice that there's really not much down here. However, the fact that this is a multi-year swing low, you better believe that if the market comes down here and tests this level, that there will be some sort of buying. All right, so I want to keep that one on my chart. Okay, so let's see. There's another little swing high here, but I'm not, yeah, see, notice how this gets choppy through here, so that's not something I want to keep on my chart. I'm looking for the really obvious stuff, folks. That's what we want to focus on, all right? So as far as up here, I mean, this has been pretty much a straight up market. I mean, there's not